us this Saturday for a seminar on life in Australia and Canada. So, so I'll be going through with you guys on how to get yourself qualified, and also on the process and the process it will take. Right. So thank you everyone for coming today. I know it's raining outside and it's really good weather to sleep in the afternoon there, so it's a bit troublesome to come over here. So thank you so much. Drinks are over there, so if you guys need any drinks, just help us out. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So for today's seminar, we are going to go through life in Australia and also in Canada, and also a little bit more on how to get yourself qualified, and also what are the chances of you moving over. After this, there will be a breakout group for you guys with our consultant. We will go through with you individually on your points for either Australia or Canada, or both if you choose to, flexible both. All right. Okay. So today's agenda, we'll be going through the company's introduction, after that my Australia skilled migration, and Canada skilled migration, and also any questions if you guys have any. Okay? So for AIMS, we've been around since 2006, so that's about 15 years from 15 years. We are in 13 offices across 10 countries. And then what we offer, we do skilled migration program for our clients, investors program, student visa, family visa, and also on relocation services. So our mission is to be a leading reputable migration and relocation provider in Asia Pacific, recognized for our professionalism and also our service excellence. And our mission is to achieve clients' migration and relocation goals through our specialized and dedicated team. Okay, our values are push. I understand a lot of people don't like to be pushed, right? In terms of be it either at work or in your own personal life. Why we choose this core value? We do have clients throughout the years coming back to us repeatedly and just trying to make the decision on whether to go or not. And throughout the times itself and throughout the number of occasions, some of them do fall short in terms of not being able to qualify, being for health reasons, being for age, or whatever circumstances, or changes in policy that happens throughout the year. So why we choose this as our main, as our core value is to make sure that our clients, if they have any interest or if they are qualified now, we want to push them to go ahead and take the leap of faith to make sure that you guys can go over, because you will never know what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Okay, so our overseas presence, we are in Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Manila, Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, Yangon, Phnom Penh, Jakarta, Kuching, Perth, and also in Adelaide. Okay. So AIMS in 2021, we have about 300 migration professionals. So be it the sales side or the backend team, 13 offices in 10 countries. We have migration to more than 20 destination countries, from Oceania to US to Europe, to those countries. And over we have helped about 18,000 families to do in their migration dreams. Okay, so these are the countries that we have for migration. Sorry, so Australia, Canada, United States, Europe, in Portugal, Malta, Ireland, and also in Caribbean islands as well, as in Kitts, St. Lucia, Vanuatu. Right? So today we're going to be focusing a lot on Australia and Canada. Our services, we provide migration programs for skilled workers, investors, student visa, entrepreneurs, citizenship, family visas, for your family or for your parents when you guys are moving to other countries in the future when you guys want to bring them over, employer sponsorship, and also in corporate relocation. So, if your company has internal transfer that you guys might want to move over to other countries, we will be able to help with that as well if your company doesn't know how to. Why choose AIMS? We have a full spectrum of services. From now, when you're going over to Canada or Australia, for example, and you guys are looking to bring a family after a couple of years, like your parents, then we are able to help you guys with that kind of visa as well. For dedicated consultant, one consultant is going to be with you throughout your whole journey, and also there will be a team that will be dedicated to you in terms of your documentation preparation. Professional advice, we've been around for about 15 years, so we know what we're doing and we are able to help you guys with the documents required. And as well as the offices across Asia. So sometimes you might not just be in Singapore. You might be other countries as well for jobs, or you might go back to your country. We do have offices there that will be able to help you, or if you need to meet someone face to face. So fully licensed for Australia, we're fully licensed with Mara Agents, which is the migration agents in Australia. Over there you can see there's our registration number, and you can find it on mara.gov.au. For Canada, we are working with a Canadian lawyer who's under the Quebec bar. So all your migrations to Canada is actually being handled by professionals that they are able to help you with in terms of any I would say rejection or appeal. Okay. So most livable cities. I think there's this list where they have about 10 countries that's most livable. So Australia and Canada both take three spots in the list of 10. So you have Calgary, Toronto, and Vancouver for Canada, and then you have Sydney, Adelaide, and Melbourne for Australia. So how do they rate these countries? In 5 general categories: instability, healthcare, culture, environment, education, and also lastly infrastructure. So we're going to go a little bit into aims. So just to show, anyone is interested in Australia? Yeah. So can you just share a little bit on why you guys are looking to move to Australia, or what are your motivation to actually go over? Friends over there. So looking to join up with your friends in Australia. Any relatives over there? No, just your friends, yeah? And yourself?
My relatives are there.
Relatives are there.
I've been there a couple of times, I think.
Have you studied there?
No, but my niece is studying there, so I've seen their universities and stuff.
I see. Okay, and so for yourself, living in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, also we'll get to that later. So for now, we're going to go a little bit into Australia, okay? So for Australia, what is it known for? Actually, is the ease of doing businesses. So if you are looking at starting a business over there, it's actually pretty simple if you're under a PR status. I think world-class education as well. For a simple fact, your niece is over there, studying in Australia university. I think a lot of people will actually go over as well. Even for Singaporeans, there are people sending the kids over just for the education itself. And I believe for your niece, she's probably spending about 25,000-30,000 a semester. If you're a PR in Australia, you actually pay about 25% of it only, because for university, for tertiary studies, both in Canada and in Australia, it's heavily subsidized. So instead of 25 to 30,000, you might be paying 5 to 6 only a semester. So that's it if you're a PR over there. Okay, and also quality of life. Right? So for education, as you can see here, from 6 to 18 years old, you're probably spending about 180,000 just for that 12 years. Whereas if you're a PR, education is actually free from primary to secondary. So, and again, with the subsidization of the university fee, it's actually up to 75%. So that's why you pay a lot lesser. And for your future kids, if you guys are going over there and having a family, this is what your kid will get to enjoy, and you yourself as well. 180,000, that's quite a bit of savings. It's almost half a house already in Australia. Okay, healthcare as well. It's free healthcare in Australia. So just taking, for example, a labor. If you're getting pregnant and you're having a kid, the total cost is going to cost you about free to about 1,500 Aussie dollars. So a lot of people, I think for free healthcare itself, it's also very important. Okay. So salary in Australia, minimum wage over there is about $740. So if minus off the taxes, you're looking at about maybe $530 a week take home. So in a year, in a month or a month plus, you're looking at about $2,500, and that's take home pay, right? And so for cost of living, like I've mentioned, studies you actually save up to 180,000, and for a house of about 3,000 square meter, it's about 360K. So it's almost half the cost of the house, really. So I think moving over there, it does give you a lot of savings and also a lot of benefits in moving over to Australia, right? Cars as well, I think in Singapore it's cost about 80 to 100 grand for a new car. Over there, 21,000. If you guys are car fanatic or you guys do like car, I think in Singapore it's almost impossible to get. It's so expensive. But in Australia and Canada, it's a lot cheaper. Okay. So what we're going to go through is actually the points test for Australia. So the points test is going to let you know on what your chances are, whether you're qualified or not. So just keep a lookout for this. Our sales consultant will be with you later on to actually go through the points for your own individual profile. So you will know whether you're qualified, or what are your chances of moving over, if it's good for you to do the move. Okay. So for general skilled migration, there's 3 visas that you're actually able to get from this program itself. The first one is a 189. This is a permanent residency visa, as also the 190. Okay. These are both permanent residency visa that allows you to travel to Australia and move and work and stay there for 5 years. For 491, this is a provisional visa that allows you to work, stay, and travel around in Australia for 5 years. Okay. For 491, you will need to live and work in a regional area that the Australian government has designated for you for 3 years before you're able to move around. And role swapping is something that if you are moving husband, if you are the main applicant, you might not want to move directly or immediately after getting the visa. You might still want to stay in Singapore or in your home country to settle some of the stuff first. So your partner could actually go over there, live and work for 3 years, and then afterwards you'll be able to convert to a PR. So for this 190 visa, you don't have to move exactly right off the bat. Okay. So for this program itself, there's a couple of restrictions, a couple of requirements, post requirements that you need to fulfill. You need to be between the age of 18 to 44. Why 44? Because 45 is the cutoff age. And if you reach 45, you could be very qualified. You could have a doctorate, you could have perfect English, you could have worked and lived in Australia before, but as long as you reach 45, you will not be qualified. You need to pass the skill assessment as well. So for your specific industry, there will be authorities that will be assessing you and judging you based on your past experiences and your qualification to see if you meet the Australian standard of your occupation. So if you pass that as well, then you will be qualified. For competent English, so in Australia, there's a couple of tests that you can actually take. There is PTE, that's the Pearson Test in English. There's IELTS, International English Language Test. There's both general and academic for IELTS itself. So depending on your occupation, you're required to take different kind of tests. For satisfied medical and character requirements, so you need to do police checks as well, and also you need to do your health checkup. So you need to be in a clean state, or you cannot be ill. But there are some specific exemption in that area, which if you guys have any, or if you guys need some further clarification, you can check with the sales consultant later. Alright. And also lastly, definitely the 65 points. So in the next slide that I'm going to go through with you is the breakdown of the 65 points that you are able to get in the different tests. Okay. So for this point test itself, there are a couple of basic factors that they take into account: age, English language, qualification, overseas skilled employment. And what do I mean by overseas? Anywhere outside of Australia. Okay. Australia skilled employment. So in Australia, full-time paid. Other factors, and also state or territorial nomination. The state or territorial nomination, right? You only get an additional points for 190 or 491. For 189, there's no additional points for that. Okay. So going back to the age itself, for age, the maximum points you'll get is 30 points, and the minimum is 15. So the optimal age to actually make the move is actually from 25 to 32. Okay. English language. I'll use IELTS as an example. If you get all 6 in each category, you will receive 0 points. But that is the minimum you have to achieve. If you get anything that's 5.5, you will not be able to qualify for this test, for this program. Proficient will actually be all 7 in each category, and for superior is all 8 in each category. Okay. So for qualification, 10 and 20, 10 being you having a diploma, 20 being a doctorate, PhD. For overseas skill employment, if you work at least 3 years, you'll receive 5 points, and if you have worked at least 8 years outside of Australia, you'll receive 15 points. For Australia employment, if you work at least 1 year in Australia, full-time work, you receive 5, and if you work at least 8, you'll receive 20. Okay? And for other factors, like if you're studying in Australia for 2 years, this has to be onshore, not with Australian university in Singapore like Curtin's or Griffiths. It has to be onshore in Australia for 2 years. You can do a language translation test. So if you know you have a mother tongue, right? For example, maybe Tagalog, maybe Malay, Bahasa Malay. If you are able to do a translation test, then you will be able to get additional 5 points in that field. If you're a single applicant, you automatically get a 10 point. If you are with a partner, the partner would then have to do the English test with at least competed in his English test. That will give you 5 points. And if he does his skill assessment, meaning to say that his occupation is also in the list and demand, and he's able to get a positive assessment from the assessing authority, you'll get an additional 5 points as well. So total 10. Okay? And also if you have specialist education in any of the field, which is science, technology, engineering, or maths. Okay? Last one, which is the state or territorial nomination, you will get either 5 or 15 points. 5 points additional if you choose to go for 190 visa, which is the permanent residency visa, or 491, you get additional 15 points. Okay. So general recap of what visas you're actually able to get. If you go for 189 visa, which is a permanent residency visa, you get to stay anywhere in Australia you want to. There's no set restriction, or I have to stay in Victoria, I have to stay in New South Wales, or I stay in Northern Territory. Anywhere in Australia is possible. What you will get is a 5-year permanent residency visa. This is renewal every 5 years, sorry. And you need to stay there for at least 730 days. This is accumulated, not consecutive. So throughout the 5 years, you could stay for 3 months, and then fulfill your other rest of the 2 years in the last 3 years. For 190, you have to stay in the relevant state that is being given to you. So that's where the additional 5 points comes into play. You are required to stay in territory or state for 2 years first before you are able to move anywhere else. Say this is a 5 years permanent residency visa with renewal of the minimum 730 days. Okay. Lastly is the 491 skilled regional. This one you will have to stay in the designated area by the Australian government where you have to stay at least 3 years. Work and stay there. Okay. After the 3 years, you will be able to convert to a PR, and then from there you are able to move anywhere you want to. Okay. What you will get for 491, you will receive a 5 years visa as well, with a chance to convert after 3 years, and then you will renew. You will continue to renew your PR. Okay. So a general timeline with us, once you engage us, we will consult with you again, in terms of your profile, your points test, and what are the things that's required on your end to provide to us for the skill assessment. We will then do all the preparation of documentation and also the skill assessment that I mentioned earlier on. Then after that, you will do your EOI. EOI is an expression of interest where you let the Australian government know that you are ready for selection. This is only possible after you have done your IELTS and also your skill assessment. Okay? And once all these are done, we'll be waiting for your selection, and once you have been given the invitation to apply, you will do your visa application, where the health check and the police clearance will come into play. Okay? So that's for Australia. So benefits for a PR in Australia is pretty funny actually. For Australia, if you have an Australian PR, what you're actually able to do is you can go to New Zealand to work and stay there. However, if you have a New Zealand PR, you can't do the other way around. You can only stay in New Zealand. But for Australia, you actually get 2 countries kind of PR. Yeah. Okay. So that is for Australia. So we're going to go into Canada. Okay. So for Canada, so what are your motivations of moving to Canada?
For my kids' education.
For the kids' education, right? So as I mentioned earlier on, for Australia and Canada, school fees are free for your secondary and your primary school fee for primary school and secondary studies. And when you go to tertiary, which is a university, it's almost up to 75% subsidies as well. Okay, so for Canada, they are very aggressive in drawing migrants to go over as PR. Just in November and in December, they have drawn a total of 20,000 migrants applicants to become PR over there. So in Canada, I think back in 2020 or 2020, back in 2019 actually, they were saying that they want to bring in about 1 million migrants into Canada by 2023. And just last month or last year, they actually said that they want to bring in 1.2 million instead, which is a 20% increase. So that's why, as you can see, from 3.3 to 4.2, 4.5, they went up to 5,000 people that they want to draw. So for Canada-wise, there's a lot of opportunities to go over there to work in. Okay, so this is the piece of news that they mentioned. They want to bring in at least 1.2 million by 2023. Okay, so why Canada? I think beautiful scenery. And have you been to Canada before? No. So I think most of the places, you don't get like Singapore. Singapore, the best place maybe Bukit Timah or Bukit or some of the reservoir there. But over there, you do get a lot of beautiful sceneries in terms of going to hiking. You get different kind of environment. That's for Canada. Then you get higher quality of education as well. I think in the research shown recently, there's about 53% of Canadians are actually degree holder and above. So I think they do focus a lot on education on this portion. So I think that's great news for you if you're looking to go over there for your kids' education. So for you guys, what are the countries that you guys are looking for?
We are looking for both Australia and Canada.
Both Australia and Canada. Okay, sure. Our consultant will be with you guys after this to go through a little bit more in depth. Okay. So free healthcare as well. That's exactly the same as in Australia. It's $1 onwards. So I think that is quite self-explanatory. I think in Singapore it's quite expensive as well. Although there's Medishield, but the free healthcare is something that a lot of migrants are looking at getting. Cost of living pretty similar. Houses are pretty cheap over there. I think for in the suburbs, if you're looking at getting a bungalow or getting a landed property, it's about 300 to 400,000. In Singapore, it's at least 3 million to 4 million. So that's the difference. It's huge. Cars as well. If you're into cars, like I mentioned earlier on. A first-hand car probably costs about 20k, 30k. If you're buying a second-hand, you see like US, they buy a car for like $5,000. Yeah, that's why. It's really cheap over there. Okay. Jobs in Canada. Canada are looking to fill about 430,000 vacant jobs over there. So I think most of my clients, when they go over or when you have that issue of going over, you think, would I be able to get a job? Would be able to find for look for a job easily. I think some of them for Canada, they have a lot of places, a lot of resources, but not the human there. So if you're going over, I do not think that you will find any troubles looking for jobs. Okay. So for Canada, say there is an eligibility points test as well. This one is 67 points. So what are the factors that they are looking at? Age, your education, your English proficiency, work experience, if you have an arranged job in Canada, and also adaptability. Okay. For this test itself, you have to be at least 18 years old, which is a little bit different from Australia. Australia, as I mentioned, is 18 to 44, with 45 being a cutoff age. For Canada, there's no cutoff age. You could be 50 years old and still looking at Canada, as long as you pass this test of 67. So there's no age limit for that. Obviously, you do not receive any age point if you're a little bit too old, but yeah, you'll still be qualified for the program. Applicant needs to be at least in a 1 year continuous work, full-time and paid. Okay? And it's in the skilled occupation list of either category O, A, or B. The main applicant must also score at least 6 in all of their tests. For Canada, it's a little bit different. There's no Pearson's, there's no IELTS academic, it's just IELTS general. So you need to score at least 6 in each category. For applicant, you must have at least a high school diploma if you want to move over. Okay? And you need to pass your medical clearance as well, and also your character requirements, which is your police check. And lastly, you need to score at least 67 points. Okay? So that one was just the pretext where you check whether you're qualified. And after, if you are qualified, there's another test which is the comprehensive ranking system. This one will actually let you know what are your chances of moving. Okay? What does it take into account? Pretty similar to an eligibility test: age, level of education, proficiency, and if you have any Canadian work experience. You also take into account your partner's points as well, like your education, English proficiency, and also if she has worked there before. Okay? They will combine some of the factors that are in the previous slide into whether you guys have masters or postgrad diploma, and then if let's say what are your level of proficiency in English, and also they'll take into account your foreign work experience as well. What do I mean by foreign work? Anywhere outside of Canada. Okay, so if you have worked in other places as long as 3 years, you should be able to receive the points over here. Okay. Additional factors: if you have relatives living in Canada, brothers or sisters or first degree relative. If you speak French, you get additional points as well, because French is the second language for Canada. Post-secondary education: if you have studied in Canada before, that is something that they will give you additional points for. And then arranged employment, you will also be able to get. If you have someone waiting to offer you a job with all the required documentation that's by the government, you will receive additional points too. Okay. Last one is called the Provisional Nomination Program, in short PNP. This is similar to a 190 and a 491, right? So if you're able to get this program, this nomination from 600 points, there's only one requirement for you, which is to stay in the province that gave you this 600 points. So it could be Ontario, it could be Saskatchewan, it could be Nova Scotia that actually sponsor you this 600 points. Okay? So timeline as well. Once you have engaged us, we will help you to complete your education assessment. So with your degree, diploma, we get it assessed by the Canadian government. You will then apply for the express entry once you have done your qualification check and also your English test. Okay. You will then submit the PNP, the provincial nominee application for you if you require such help of that 600 points. If you do not need, then we will not be doing this. After all this is done, you just wait for your ITA, which is your invitation to apply. Once you are done with that, you will lodge your application and then you will get your visa grant. So this is an example of a visa grant for Canada. Okay. So for Canada, one of the more important things is that I think the strength of the passport. For Canada itself, it has about 171 visa-free countries that you can travel to, and I think that is really what some people are looking for. I think they want businessmen, traveling around the globe without having to wait for visa to approve, then they can go over. And also, Canada has the least amount of stay required to get this citizenship. For Australia, it's 4 years out of the 5 years visa. For Canada, it's 3. Okay. Come to the end. Any questions for me? Yes?
So for Canada, right, if you're going to apply for the PR, does both the husband and wife have to apply a separate application, or is it going to be one person as the main applicant and the other one can be like a sub-applicant and both of them get a PR at the same time?
Correct. We will do just that. So depending on your occupation as well, because some of the occupation might not be in the list of demand, which render you as not qualified. So if one of you guys qualify, we will actually put in I put you guys separate, then one gets selected, one then don't get selected, then you guys have to be apart. We'll put you guys together in the same application.
So
One is like
both of us will be getting the PR, right?
correct, including your dependent, your child dependent. Any other question? None for now. So you guys are gonna go into a breakout group where there'll be sales consultant, there'll be answer any questions that you guys have, and also doing the point test for your individual profile. Alright? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you those that are online. Thank you for joining us today. I'll see you guys soon. Okay. Alright, thank you so much. Oh yeah. Connect with us on Facebook, IG, WeChat, our website, and also on LinkedIn. Yeah. Thank you. So Kelly will let you guys know who will be assisting.